Hey all, once again, thanks for joining the session. So for the topic today, we are going to look at what is Amazon Q and QuickSight and what are the generative BI capabilities that's been announced as part of the reInvent last year. And we're going to look at a demo how different personas in Q using Q can perform like what are options available for the authors and what the persona user experience looks like for the readers. So before getting in, let's take a look. What was the main challenges before this Gen BI experience, or how traditionally, what are the challenges that we have in regular BI development cycle? So usually the business team has a request to build a visualization to understand how let's take an example of market analysis or whatever the BI needs they have. They have come up with a request, and it goes to the tech team where they need to ask for a ticket or put because of a limited resource availability, they put the ticket in queue or in the backlog, and it goes back to the business team and back and forth. A lot of communication happening, and the projects are getting delayed to be delivered. So the two major challenges is one is time it takes to deliver or to complete. So how faster we can help business users. That was one of the areas what we're trying to address with this Q and Gen BI feature. And the second thing is some of the organizations which has very thinly staffed BI teams where they have minimal resource capacity to handle the requests coming from. So to address these two challenges is what we trying to offer the Q as a solution for this. Now let's take a look at what is Q in Amazon QuickSight. So the Q is a first and foremost, it's a truly a natural language search where business can ask questions about their data using everyday business language in most natural form. So there is no need to learn on remember any questions or syntax or even need to deal with the complex keyword tokens or something. And the second thing is the users can get the answers and that can go beyond the known questions and that are captured in a pre-built dashboard. And one more thing we have learned is that most users don't know what data they have access to or what dashboards are out there or what is available or not available on those dashboards. So the critical product decision for us early on is that users must be able to ask the question about all their data and ask a question. They should have to first pick a data set or dashboard and then ask a question. So that defeats the spirit of natural language query. And lastly, it is incredibly easy to set up the queue here, like with a click of a button, we can create a topic and then share it with the users. Now, let's see how Amazon Q and QuickSight works. So when user enters a natural language syntax, like what I'm sharing here on the screen, for example, show me monthly trend of sales for site analytics compared to finance apps for EMEA last year. So basically, this is called named entity recognition process, where Q identifies every piece of the text that has been entered by the user in the natural language prompt. And it breaks down and tries to understand what monthly is, what sales parameter is, and site analytics. So first it scans through the data set that is being connected underneath, and it checks if part of the string is available as a column or a field or a dimension within the data set that is being attached to the queue. And next is, let's take an example of site analytics compared to finance app. So these are not two fields values. Then what it does is it checks for whether it is a part of the field. So for the better understanding, let me show you the next screen and how it is linking to the data. So here you can see the monthly, it understand it is a string that can be related to one of the date fields. And let's say the order date is one of the fields available in the data set. So it starts connecting that monthly part of the string to the order date field. And sales is a field that is already available. It is linking that to the sales field. And site analytics and finance hub are two different products is from the cell value from a field called product. And finally, again, the EMEA is again another value from a field called region. And there is another field called year. Again, it is not the field, it is a converting that, mapping that year and monthly, that anything date type field into the one of the date fields available in the data set. So this is how It is with the help of named entity recognition, the Q scans every part of the string and connects to and or maps it to the underlying data sets. And finally, what it does is it interprets the final version of how the data looks like, or the how the what the understanding of the question it had. So you can see some part of the strings are underlined, which means the queue able to understand or map those fields with one of the field or cell value fields in the data set. And finally, it may return a trend line of showing like two trend lines, one for site analytics, one for finance hub for the last year, where the data is filtered only for the last year, and also filtering for an EMEA region. And it is aggregated by monthly trend. So that's what the output looks like. Now, moving on to how we can enhance the user experience of these natural language processing as by the end users. And for that, we have something called feedback loop mechanism in Q for QuickSight. So what the way it works is, first author or the owner of a topic creates a topic on the in the queue using the data set, and they come up with some synonyms or suggestions. And with a new Gen BI enhancement, even the queue can offer some of the synonyms based on the general world data available here. And once a topic is configured, then evaluate the keywords of the user, and those are gets updated, and the user shares the feedback of what they asked. It comes back, those feedback mechanism comes back to the author, where author starts updating or enhancing the topic with those specific keywords to simplify like what questions being asked. For example, in an organization, a company can have some custom keywords used for specific metrics or specific dimensions and measures. So those keywords can be tied to the synonyms, so which will simplify the users asking question in the day-to-day terminology and generate an ad hoc visuals what they're looking for. And finally, once the topic is updated, it is published back, and the user can start asking the questions. Now it is in a more simplified form, and that way it is like with this feedback loop mechanism, the topic can be constantly increased, and at one point in time, it reaches the best in the best shape as possible. Now, let's take a look at the generative BI in Amazon QuickSight. So, as we know, the generative AI has taken the world by storm because we have been able to, through the consumer-facing applications like ChatGPT, and experience how powerful the latest machine learning models have become. While a lot of attention has been given to how the customers are using the generative AI, and we think there is even bigger opportunity in how the business will use it to deliver amazing experience for their customers or employees. So the true power of generative AI goes beyond a search engine or a chatbot, and it can transform every aspect of how companies and organizations can operate. So this generative AI transformation we applied in QuickSight, and we calling it as generative BI, which is this. And here are the three major capabilities that what the generative BI with Amazon Q and QuickSight is what going to offer through QuickSight. First is the AI-powered dashboard authoring experience, where using the natural language, the authors can just type and prompt and can generate a visual or modify a visual or even add a calculated fields, which we're going to see in demo shortly. And the second one is AI-assisted data storytelling, which is another powerful capability through Gen BI experience for readers, where they can create an entire summary of story with the visuals and a lot of text narratives in one single storyboarding. And AI-powered insights on demand, which is a Q&A experience for readers to ask ad hoc questions and generate a visuals or insight out of it without need or dependency on BI team. And all this are powered by Amazon Bedrock behind the scene. Now, let's take a look at each of these experience in next following visuals. The first, let's take a look at AI-powered dashboard authoring experience. The first is like with the Q integration in the analysis view, instead of building a visual from the scratch. For example, you need to add a blank visual and then select a visual type and then add whatever the recommended dimension measures to it to generate a specific visual. So with this build visual experience, which is a powered dashboarding authoring experience with a natural language, authors can simply type a question like what I'm sharing on the screen. When you ask a prompt about top companies, so Q can understand and interpret and generate a visual with whether it is a field or it is in a cell value based in a particular field, and it generate an appropriate visual. All we need to do is click add to analysis and generate the visual. It's that simple. And next, coming to the building calculations. As we know, every BI tool has its own syntax or specific formatting or a unique set of calculated fields available. So going through and understanding all those calculation, applying specific calculation that is valid for or suitable for your use case, it takes some time processing or as a little bigger learning curve. So with this AI-powered bill calculations with the same natural language prompt, users can ask a simple prompt like create and calculated field for period over period by monthly aggregation or any complex calculation. So the queue can understand that natural language and create a calculated field, and you can simply insert and start using it in the visual. And finally, another interesting authoring experience is refining your visuals. So once a visual is created, there might be an ad hoc ask or change in the way the visual is looking. Like for example, if you want to add an additional dimension or add a color fields or legends to it, or even change the title, all that can be done using the natural language using the Q editor option today. So those are the three features for the authoring experience. Next, let's take a look at AI-powered insights on demand. So there are two AI-powered insights. One is executive summary of dashboards, and other one is simple Q&A for non-experts. All these are for the reader experience. So the executive summaries or instant summaries, like today, let's take an example when an analyst been asked by the leadership team to generate a summary of what's happening with the current trend of sales or any business related functionalities in the dashboard. So analyst has to go through every single data point, even though it is visually represented, and translating that into a summarized form and giving it to the leadership team is another challenging task, which may take hours of time to build something like that. So with this AI-powered insights, with a click of a button, you can generate that executive summary, what is being shared here on the top right of the screen. And uh, you can see that how it is nicely summarized with the bullet points, highlighting all the data points available on the dashboard. And next is simple Q&A for non-experts. So this one is like when a user asks a question, for an ad hoc analysis. As I mentioned, the the business users might not know what data available or what fields available they have. All they know is a business statement that they want to visually represent on the screen. So using the simple Q&A form with a natural language, user can ask a question and Q can generate multi-dimensional visuals where you can see an example on screen, and also an insight generated. Plus, it also gives a suggestion if the question is not exactly relatable or if there is possibility of an alternative suggested question. Even Q generates like what I'm sharing here on the screen. Next one is let's take a look at the third, another interesting Gen BI feature, AI assisted storytelling. Again, this is for the reader experience. So we have seen like how readers or business users can do the Q&A of asking a visual or generating an executive summary. So with the storytelling, now we can blend these two into one single form and generate an entire detailed story. For example, as shown in the screenshot here, building a story about marketing campaign performance over the time with the narrative and whatever the visuals the business user wants to add, they can add them, and they can generate one single story where it is very powerful with all the insightful narratives, analyzing the data only with a few words. And it is not only limited to that, there is a lot more options available in the storytelling where users can modify the text or add manual inputs and even customize the look and feel of the storyboarding. So these are some interesting features what been announced as part of Gen BI. And currently this is in preview, available on US East region. So if someone is interested, you can go to your user profile and turn on the preview and start testing, trying out some of these Gen BI features. With that, let's take a look at a demo. So let me bring my demo on screen. So in this demo, what we're going to look is we already have an analysis score for the customer experience or a call center record, where we can see, let me play this. So there is an inside different visuals created of this analysis, having different graphs, donut chart. So to create an analysis like this, it might take some time. Now let's see how we can generate the same with an generative BI features. So for this, we are going to add a new interactive sheet. In this section, first we are looking at the authoring experience. So we are going to add a visual, and using this build visual command on the top of the queue, this opens up a queue bar, and here I'm going to ask a question, calls by customer, where you can see with that prompt, it has generated a vertical bar chart, and you can see it has, with a click of a button, add to analysis, it is adding all that. Just a minute. Let me roll back a little. So here you can see with the add to analysis option, that visual is added to the analysis, where it shows a top 100 in customer IDs, and total number of unique calls is what used as a measure, and it generated the visual. And I'm giving another prompt called monthly call trend. So based on that, the queue interpret as unique number of call IDs by calls month. So these are the some fields available. So it understand like what measure to take, and when it says monthly, it uses one of the date fields, and it is all summarized. Now by clicking add to analysis, that part of a visual gets added to the screen, as you can see here, and also all the fields needed for this visual is also updated. And next prompt is if I want to see subscribers at risk, like based on the call churn, the total churn percentage field available in the data set. If the field is not available, we can add those synonyms so that Q can understand what field we are referring to. And again, based on that, it is understand what is the churn percentage, and it brings upon the visual with the unique customer IDs plus the customers at risk. So we can get that and add it to the screen, and we're going to do one more visual, and this time we're going to try total calls by churn. Again, this is using the call, and let's get that visual built. So here there is an unique value, yes or no, whether the calls in churn or at risk with the yes or no indicator, and there is two horizontal bar graphs generated for this particular prompt. Now let's take a look how we can edit these visuals or refine the visuals using the prompt. So as you can see the highlighter here. So for once with this Gen BI preview or with a new feature, every visual will also have that Q indicator available or next to the formatting icon, where you can use that to edit the visual with a natural prompt. So here I'm going to add, just a minute, let me go one step back. So here I have entered an add outcome as outcome as one of the fields that is available in my data set. When I do that, it's being the dimension, it's get added to the visual. And as you can see behind the scene where it added the dimension to the colors, and it started creating a unique line per the outcome that is available in my data set. And now let's say if I want, currently the title is unique number of call IDs by the call month. So that's the default title which QuickSight has generated. Now, if I want to change that title to change title to calls by month and apply, once I do that, you can see that title now is updated call trend by month. So even you can change the title with the natural language prompts. Now let's take a look at the visual where it says total call by churn. Now, instead of representing this visual in a bar graph, if I want to have a more detailed information in the tabular format, I can do that using the convert the visual type using the natural language again. So for example, add call details or change to a table and add call details. So here is my prompt, what I'm typing here, change to table and add call details. Now let's see how the output is. Now we can see it has converted the horizontal bar graph visual into the table, and also it added all the call details like call ID, the date, total number of calls, along with the churn parameter, yes or no values as well. Now let's see, if you want to perform a conditional formatting in a table visual, today the way we do is we have to click on the format icon, go and pick the specific field and specific threshold values, like set a value, what represents green or what represents red. We have to manually format that. But with this generative BI feature of edit visual, we can simply throw a prompt asking change color to red when the churn indicator is yes or green otherwise. Let's see how the output is. Here you can notice the table got instantly updated with yes or no, where yes are indicating in the red where the customers at risk, and also no indicating whether which are not at risk. So here are some interesting features of authors. Now let's take a look at executive summary um, with the reader experience. So first, let's take a look at the Q&A option, like how users can ask a question in Q. For example, when I enter the call details and ask a question, you can see Q generated an insight with total unique time across calls or number of unique call IDs, and what is the period over period generate. It generated a detailed insight plus visuals with multiple dimensions, and the readers can also share a feedback, which help authors to understand how good this particular Q topic is performing. And let's try another question, most hanged calls. And when we enter this question and ask the queue, let's see how it behaves. So you can see the output here along with the insight that there is a multi-dimensional, multi-visual. And also on top of that, Q also providing an alternative suggestions like what do you mean by most hanged calls, whether it is unique number of call IDs by call month, day for outcome hang, or unique number of call IDs for the date outcome is hang. So here are some suggestions that Q offers for readers to understand alternative way of asking question. And when to click of a button, that question goes into the queue as the next question input, and users can start using that. Now, followed by that, let's take a look at the executive summary option. So from the dashboard, readers can click the build option on the top right and choose executive summary. And here you can see the queue with having the multiple insights and data available on that particular dashboard. It has generated an contact summary with the total calls forecast, the top 3 call sources of Northwest with specific numbers, and also it also showing top 3 call outcomes with the agent IDs or the different information. So it's basically summarizing the high level information of thousands of data points or millions of data points that you're trying to visualize on the dashboard. And using the copy button next to the contact summary here on the top right, the readers can simply copy that text and send it distribute across the board with an email or any messaging format. Followed by this, uh, let's take a look at the story. Now let's see how the data story works with the generative BI feature. So in the data stories, there are two options available how you want to present your story in a format. One is scrollable page or a slideshow with a multi-tab. Now let's choose scrollable page. And another interesting part is like you can add visuals from multiple dashboard. For example, if a reader has access to all these dashboards like a customer call center experience, call center CX, so or multiple sheets what they have, we can choose one of those dashboards or sheets and pick specific visuals. You can see the check mark here in specific visuals I selected. And add them to the story that I'm going to generate, and followed by, so once that is added, just give a minute. So now here we're going to build a story, and the prompt that I'm trying to generate a story for is analyze call center efficiency and productivity on call trends at risk, with risky subscribers, and what are the recommendation on improving the overall efficiency. So once that is entered, and here you can see there is all the visuals I've selected from the dashboards or sheets I have access to, and clicking on build. So Q translates that, the natural language, and starts building a story, what is shared here. You can see there is a call volume trend with a visual selected, and a narrative for that. And even it generates a summarized header. The parts of this data story can be manually updated, where you can see who's the preparer name. You can add that. It creates the own introduction based on the data points, like what it's trying to create a data story out of, adding the visuals. And in the bottom, you can see the call source. This is another part of text or the prompt of what I've asked for. And it has a narrative for that. The call resolutions. So this is based on the call trends and risky subscribers, what the question asked. And in this section, let's see, like there is at-risk customers. So if you want to translate this paragraph into bullet points, we can also do that with a Q. So select the text, clicking on the Q option, and you can make it longer, shorter, or you can just change it to bullets. You can see it shows a preview of how that bullet point summarization look like. You can try again to re-summarize it, or you can add it to the sheet or update it. Along with those points, if you want to add additional pointers, you can add them too. So here are some recommendation that Q offers for building the stories. What are the next steps to take, and then a summary about the conclusion. Once this is done, you can do the preview of the story that is generated and take a look how the final outcome looks like. If you are good with this, you can save it and start sharing. Or if you want to change the template model, like if you want to add a different theme, you can do that and do a preview and start sharing with the users on your account. So here is the high level view of how the data story looks like. So let me, with that, we have come to end of a demo. Let me summarize once again what we have seen today. We have seen what is Amazon Q and QuickSight, and how Q works, and what are the challenges that we're trying to solve as part of this Gen BI feature, and how each different personas, like features for authors from Gen BI, and how reader experience of in Gen BI looks like. And we have seen the demo how to create an analysis, the new visuals with the natural language prompts, and how we can edit them and modify them. And also we have seen how the Q&A experience works for the readers, and how to generate the executive summaries. Along with that, we have seen then an interesting feature of how the data stories can be built using Amazon Q and QuickSight.